Hello guys, so welcome to Swing for Pips. Okay, it's another Forex weekly outlook for the Forex market, and we're gonna be seeing what the markets have for us this week. So, of course, here as a culture, those of us that have been following, we know that here we start with the fundamentals, the monthly, the weekly, the daily, and the 4 hour. Okay, we always do a top-down analysis of what price is doing across the time frames. And this week, we are going to be talking about DXY, the AUD, USD, the JPY baskets, and then we're going to pick one of the currencies from the JPY basket, which is the NZD JPY. We've actually been holding that trade and we've been trading the NZD JPY for a while now. So come with me as we take a ride through the week. So, fundamentally speaking, I know from last week we actually had this. Okay, we had this report that came out. That's I think that's 2 weeks from this week, I would say. All right, and I just brought out the importance of the main highlights, the key highlights of this report, okay, which was the employment data, of how the Feds are more concerned about employment data right now, as their focus is shifting away from inflation data. All right, so of course, the employment data, reflects the state of the GDP, okay, which is actually the primary concern. But that using the employment data to actually gauge the economy right now, as that's actually their main focus. Okay, so you can take your time and go through this report. Okay, and then so for a while now, I've been saying that the GDP have actually not been coming out too good from the US. Okay, from the Federal Reserve, they've been having negative GDP. Okay, so we've actually had another GDP coming out last week on 26th of June, okay, and it came out negative 0.5. All right, if you can see here, all right, I highlighted in this box here. You can see the one that came out initially was minus negative 0.2%, and the one that came out last week was negative 0.5. I'm not actually surprised, or I'm not, it's not something that took me unaware. Okay, this figure, because I actually expected it, because all the other figures have been coming out from the retail sales, from the service PMI, from the manufacturing PMI. Okay, they've been coming out all negative. So I'm not surprised that we're having this negative 0.5%. Okay, so that still tells us that look, the US currency will still be heading south for a while. Okay, but I'll explain something when we get to the charts. Okay, so looking at the that's next week that we're going into, the fundamentals that we're actually paying attention to, okay, is going to be the non-farm payroll. Remember earlier I mentioned that the Fed is actually looking at this figure because it's going to be a deciding factor for a lot of things going forward, okay? So the data last week came out, that's for the last month, the last report that came out on NFP came out worse than expected. All right. So let's see what will happen this week. Okay. So something fun is actually going on. I can see that we have the NFP reports coming out on the Thursday. On a Thursday, that's on Forex Factory. I don't know why that is. I'm gonna do some research and see what is going on, and update the Telegram channel as to what is going on. I don't know why this figure came out on a Thursday. All right. So without much further ado, let's go into the chart and see what we can actually pull out from the charts. Okay. All right. So we have the DXY here. We have the DXY here. Okay. And of course, like I said, we always start from the monthly. From our initial class, all right, before continuing with this analysis, let me pull out the table, okay? Remember how we made our analysis on this? Okay, for those of us that have been following, please refer back to the previous video if you've not followed, okay, and you see what is going on here. All right, so we can see that the DXY, we said it is long, monthly is long, weekly is short, daily is short, and the 4 hour is short, okay? And the AUD USD is short, and then the weekly is long, daily is long, and the 4 hour is long. The yen basket, okay, the same thing. Initially, the daily was neutral, the 4 hour neutral, but we'll see what will happen this time around when we go to us when we scan through the chart, okay. And then we're looking at the NZD which is long on the monthly, weekly, daily, and then the 4 hour. They're all long, okay. And as for gold, also, like we've already established that look, we are only buying gold. We don't have any business selling gold because of the fundamentals. Okay, so return back to the chart. Okay, so now, just like we've rightly established, okay, we can see that this demand zone right here on the monthly is what is in the way of price right now. Going into the month of July. Okay, so let's see what price is going to do on along. Let's see what price is going to do at this demand zone right here. Okay, will price break it or will price respect this zone? However, let's look out for a bounce off this zone right here, this demand zone right here. So if price should eliminate this zone, okay, and also eliminate this trend line, okay, then we can now say that the monthly is bearish, okay. But for now, we still maintain the stand that the monthly is bullish on the monthly time frame, just like we've established before. Okay, so we go to the weekly. Okay, we go to the weekly. We can see that we have a nested zone here in the weekly. Okay, we have a nested zone in the weekly right here. Let's see whether price will also come here and do its thing. Let's see whether price is going to bounce off from this zone right here. Okay, so we can see that price have been going down, 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 down on the weekly time frame. All right, and now we are at a point of decision right here. Okay, that's this zone right here. All right, so this is a very key demand zone. Let's see what price is going to do there going forward into the week. All right, so then we go to the daily. Of course, you can see that the daily is actually we have something very interesting. You can see that this very trend line is still being maintained. All right, it has held its ground, has stood this test of time for some time right now. You can see what price is doing. Okay, you can see this, and then price broke to the downside, and then this again. All right, we actually missed a trade here. That was last week because we are so focused on seeing price reversing from this area here. However, price gave us a decent supply zone right there, which we will have traded from into this zone coming down here. But actually, we did see that. So I actually missed that. Okay, so that was my bad. So we can see that we are still bearish on the daily time frame. Okay, that's on the DXY. All right, so we go to the 4 hour. We go to the 4 hour. You can also see that we are bearish on the 4 hour. Price have not broken up to the upside. Okay, so this trend line from a daily time frame is still holding, and we can see that price is actually, obeying this bearish trend line. Okay, and then there's a consolidation there down, and then going down. So we're still bearish going to the downside. So let's see if price is gonna bounce, do some bouncing off here, come here, eliminate this zone right here, and then we can say price will go up. But we keep our fingers crossed and we respond accordingly to what price is going to do in the coming week. Okay, so now we go to the AUD USD. Okay, of course, you don't trade the DXY directly. Now, this is where we don't actually have much, trade setup coming up in the week because price have naturally positioned itself that well for us to get some decent entry. However, there can be something for us on the AUD USD. Okay, so of course we've established that this guy on the monthly time frame is bearish, of course, because this trend line is still being maintained. Price is still acting on this trend line, so it is bearish. Okay, and then on the weekly, okay, it is in a bullish consolidation. All right, why is it in a bullish consolidation? Because price have eliminated this bearish trend line, and then it is now hovering over this supply zone. It has not completely broken it yet. So if in the coming week it give us a good break, then we can say for sure now that the AUD USD on the weekly time frame is bullish. Okay, but until then, okay, it is in a bullish consolidation. Okay, so let's see what price is going to do around this supply zone in the coming week. And then we go to the daily time frame. Okay, those of us that have been following, remember we marked these two zones on the daily time frame the last time. Okay, this zone right here, this zone right here, and this zone right here. If price will come and eliminate either of this zone, and also we also had this. Okay, all right. So I'll tell you what's happening here on the 4 hour when we get to the 4 hour. However, of course, we can see that price is actually bullish on the daily time frame. Okay, so let's go to the 4 hour where we can we're actually looking for some decent entry on the 4 hour. All right, so let's see what is happening on the 4 hour. All right, now last week we had anticipated price to actually come and eliminate this kind of this zone right here where I place liquidity, this liquidity line. We're hoping that price will come, take out this zone, and then continue to the downside. However, price came and did what we call a liquidity sweep, and then pushed to the upside, and then eliminated. Can you see this bearish trend line? Okay, price eliminated this trend line and also eliminated this zone right here. So it's now giving us a bullish push to the upside. All right, so what we're actually expecting price to do in the coming week is for price to pull back to this 4 hour zone right here and give us a decent entry to the upside. So we're looking to buy this currency this currency pair going upwards. So that's going into the week. Okay, so on the 4 hour now, we can actually say that yes, on the 4 hour we are totally bearish on the 4 hour. So we'll be looking to trade price all the way to this region right here. Okay, however, like I said, we will always respond to what price is doing. Okay, so that's it for the AUD USD as we look to enter any trading opportunity from this zone right here. Okay, so we move on. Now the next pair is going to be the yen basket. Okay, it's going to be the yen basket. So which is this guy right here. Of course, those of us that have been following already know that this pair is actually on a bearish downward spree headed south on the monthly time frame. Okay, and then on the weekly, we actually have some very interesting price action during the week. Okay, on this pair, on this asset. Okay, we can see that price came and is dancing along this zone right here. Okay, it's actually a supply and demand zone. Okay, which has held and stood the test of time. Okay, we can see price um bouncing off this zone 2. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. It's now at this point here. So this is a very key support and resistance area. You'll be wondering why I'm talking about this. I've mentioned this in my previous video about support and resistance. That look, yes, we are supply and demand traders, okay? But however, we still respect other other elements from other trading strategies, such as support and resistance. Okay, initially you had me talking about liquidity. Okay, you need to be versatile about this market. Okay, you cannot just have a one window view of how to come about the market. I will not see this zone right here. I'm going to ignore it and say because I'm a supply and demand trader, so I'm not going to pay attention to that zone. No, I will pay attention to it. All right, even though yes, on the daily and the 4 hour, you're going to see some supply and demand zones being marked. Okay, so we go to the weekly is bearish. All right, the weekly is bearish in the bearish consolidation. You can see the price is consolidating in this region right here on the weekly. Okay, so we go to the daily time frame. All right, we go to the daily time frame. Okay, so now here on the daily time frame, we had marked out a zone here. Now let me show you the demand zone we marked out on the daily time frame, which is this zone right here. Okay, however, price came, tested the zone, went up, and then it is now coming down. Okay, so now the thing is this: on the daily time frame, price is actually bullish on the daily time frame. Okay, but in a bullish consolidation. Okay, so that's why I actually, if you check that spreadsheet I showed you earlier, I put neutral there because it's in a bearish consolidation, right? And why am I neutral about that? Because we're having conflicting signals here. We have on the weekly we had a head and shoulder inverse head and shoulder pattern, and then on the daily we also having head and shoulder pattern again. So we're looking whether price is gonna break to the upside or to the downside. So this area here is a very key area that will help us form a decision and a bias as to where price wants to head exactly coming in the coming week. All right. So we're actually looking for price to actually eliminate this zone right here, break it down, go up, and then go to the downside, okay? Because this is a head and shoulder pattern, a head and shoulder pattern, okay? So price might decide to go south. Okay, so let's see what price have for us in the coming week on the daily. And then we go to the 4 hour, the same scenario also playing on the 4 hour. You can see that price is actually playing in this area here, okay? And then, of course, the 4 hour is now bearish, okay? So we're going to go back to our table, that table I showed you, and mark that the 4 hour to be bearish on the yen index, okay? So how do we know it is bearish? We can see what price is doing. You can see that price all the way has been doing the whole of this, has come to eliminate this zone right here, okay? From here, can we see that? All right, so let's see whether price will stay below this zone right here. Can we see this zone right here? Let's say that price is going to stay below that zone on the 4 hour. Okay, let me just mark it well properly around here. So let's say that price is going to stay below this zone on the 4 hour. So this coming week is going to be a week that will help us form a better decision on the yen index as whether it's going to decide to be bullish or bearish going forward. Okay, so the currency pair we're picking, okay, is going to be the NZDJPY. For those of us that have been following, we've actually been holding this trade for some time now. We have two positions open on this trade, okay? Because see from the monthly, okay, we established that the monthly is bearish, all right, because price have held off this bullish trend line, and then you can see this zone right here, all right, and then you can see this pin bar that was formed, all right, that's price pointing to the upside. Will price get to this point? We don't know. We're going to keep responding accordingly to what price is doing. All right, then we go to the weekly time frame. As we go to the weekly time frame, then we see what is happening here. Of course, price is in a bearish consolidation. All right, it's a bearish consolidation, a bullish consolidation in the sense that look, this zone right here eliminated. All right, however, this one have not been taken out. Okay, so in a bullish consolidation, rather, I'll go to a bullish consolidation right here. Okay, so and then on the daily, you can see that price is coming to play around this area right here. Okay, so on the monthly time frame, we're bullish. I mean, on the daily time frame, rather, we're bullish, but this zone is trying to be in control right here. So let's see what the market is going to have for us in the coming week. However, so on the 4 hour, I'm going to show you how we've been handling this trade, how we've been trade managing this trade so far. Okay, so we're actually looking to add more positions to this setup going forward. All right, we're trying to see how we can add to this position going forward. All right, you can see that we've been in this trade. We entered this trade from here, from this zone right here, and then price came back to this zone right here, bounced off. So we added another position, all right, and then price is here again going up. Also, the 4 hour is bullish, so the 4 hour is totally bullish. So we're actually looking for buy positions. Okay, we're looking for buy positions moving forward. I've actually marked out a zone around here. Okay, we want to see if price is going to pull all the way back, all the way down to this place, and then give us a decent entry going upwards. All right. So that will be it for the technical analysis aspect of this forex outlook for the coming week. All right. As for gold, okay. As for gold, I don't want to say much about gold. Refer to the previous video. Okay. I've said how the fundamental is actually supporting buys on gold, even though we're having some bearish price action on gold. However, I'll keep my fingers crossed to see if I'll get bullish or buying opportunities in gold. All right, I'm staying away from selling gold. I'm not going to be selling gold, and I've advised my students accordingly that they should only buy gold when they see buying opportunities. Okay, because of the fundamental evidences and the fundamental indicators we've been getting. All right, so guys, that's it for this week. Okay, so okay, I actually promised that I was going to go back to that Excel sheet and then say this guy here. All right, that's the EM basket. Okay, we're gonna label it as short for now. Okay, so don't forget we're holding gold on a buy. All right, so guys, that's it for this week. And I hope you stay disciplined to follow your trading plans. Okay, follow your trade management, follow your risk management. Okay, because that's what will keep you long in this market. It's not the trading, it's not the entry, it's not the exit. Okay, it's not your top-down analysis. Okay, it is your discipline, how you keep your head calm in the game. All right. So those are the key indicators. Those are the key factors that will keep you staying long in this game. All right, so that's it for this week's analysis. All right, I wish that the pips be in your favor this week, and I hope that you stay profitable. Okay, see you some other time, and bye for now.